Hello and welcome to We Can Learn to Learn. My name is Mina Roustayi and I'm an integrative learning specialist who is presenting part 3 of our video series on we can learn to grow our ability to learn within ourselves. And the third part is about resilience, how we can be resilient learners, how we can experience maybe failures, maybe we're not perfect, but it doesn't mean that we give up. We just get up, brush off the dust off our knees, and continue until we reach our goals. How we're going to do that will be shown to you in the next few slides. So please bear with me as I pull up the slides. Yeah, so learning begins very early during pregnancy and is affected by many, many different factors, including the baby's health, which of course depends on the mother's health, which of course depends on her environment, the family environment, the pressures that she may be experiencing. Because these are the periods, days, minutes, months where development is happening so rapidly and it's in sequence. And life is very, very fragile and needs to move through these various stages for the infant to be able to handle the life that lies ahead for her and or him. As she's born, however, she's this tiny, tiny little helpless, frail baby who needs everybody's support in order to do the most basic things. He or she can't talk. They can't express themselves in any other way than crying and maybe some grimacing. And so the needs of the infant needs to be met by the caregiver in hopefully the most nurturing way possible. Of course, being a young parent or an older parent for that matter is not a stress-free kind of idyllic existence. There are a lot of things that need to be done and nobody is a perfect parent. And so ruptures may happen, but the important part of the event is that where there is rupture, there needs also be repair in whatever form or shape that is appropriate, whether it's a young infant and it needs to be rocked or burped or spoken to gently, or a child who also deserves an apology if we make mistakes. Our behavior modeling is so important for our children and other family members to see, hey, does that work? How does it make me feel? And talking about feelings is a critical aspect of that. And the first step of becoming aware and in touch with our physiology, where we feel various kinds of experiences. Is our heart racing? Are we breathing in a very shallow way? Is our stomach turning into knots? Are our shoulders very tense? And then eventually being able to see that our body is speaking to us. And we need to develop a vocabulary to listen to our bodies and connect with our mind, because it is two directions. Our body tells our brain whether we're safe or in danger, and then the brain acts to make sure that we are in the autonomic state that best supports the surveillance system that we have in our body that tells us whether we are safe or whether we're in danger or in terror. Now, depending on our experiences, we can develop certain patterns of protection, as opposed to patterns of trust. And Any pattern can be unlearned if we want to, but it requires observation, it requires awareness and noticing, and then the possibility of restoring or creating a new narrative that better serves us, creates a pathway of how we envision ourselves, our dreams, and our goals can be laid down. Patterns of behavior may also be slightly tweaked once our unmet needs are addressed, are heard, and we feel seen, and the fact that we matter. So we're going to be talking about all of that. And before we move on, I just wanted to call your attention to the importance of safely touching someone, being supportive. Our brains are wired through hands-on interaction with the physical world. And when our needs are not met, then we cry out. It could be an attachment cry. And it can be very, very intense depending on how much hurt we have inside ourselves. And when our needs are met, then we bloom, like this daisy with a little frog sitting inside it. So all of this to say that there is great hope, there is much we can do, as long as we understand what we're dealing with. So this is a slide by someone I greatly admire, Professor Laurie de Sautel, who is bringing the polyvagal theory to education in Indiana, to the schools, and she's also teaching teachers at a college level. Because what she is realizing through the work of Dr. Steve Porges and Deb Dana, we need to regulate our nervous system as teachers, as adults, so that we can address the nervous system of our students and create cues of safety. That doesn't mean metal detectors. That doesn't mean security guards. It means that we need to understand that our connections are communicated by the way we look at someone, by the way we listen to them, how attuned we are to them, and whether we smile or we're always frowning and having this kind of threatening air about us, disciplining and punishing and shaming, because the other choices that we're making, they can create more tension and drive the pain points even deeper and incapacitating our students' ability to regulate themselves. So once we understand our nervous system and how it operates, then we can understand that education really requires safety and regulation, emotional regulation, co-regulation between us and someone else. It could be a teacher, a parent, an animal, a friend, whatever provides us with a sense of, whew, I can talk to this person. I can feel a little bit more at ease here. I feel safe. I feel heard. And gee, somebody's laughing at my jokes and making me feel better. Somebody cares. So all of these are ways that we can create cues of safety and create regulated nervous systems that are prepared for the cognitive and mental tasks that are in demand of us. And so, all right, but sometimes we lose control. So what happens there? And in this brief animation, I would like you to pay attention to all the different things that we discussed and how they fit together. So please bear with me while I negotiate with my computer to turn on the video and take us to the brief segment. that I would like us to start off with.
Why we can have such a hard time keeping our emotions under control? It can be really tough being a kid these days. There's just so much going on every day, at home, at school, even after school. Sometimes it's hard to keep a lid on things, and we act in ways that are not kind or caring, even though we don't mean to be hurtful. There are so many situations that we encounter every day that can cause our emotions to bubble up. Maybe you felt upset or frustrated when you were working on a problem or activity at school and just can't seem to get it right. Maybe something unexpected or embarrassing happened to you in front of your friends. Maybe you had something important to say but didn't get a chance to say it. These and many, many more situations can cause both kids and adults to flip their lids. So, why does this even happen? Well, it has to do with the way our amazing human brains work to help keep us safe. This is your brain, the part of your body that controls everything you do. Let's take a closer look at the parts of the brain and how they can work together to help us keep a lid on things. The brain is a pretty complicated organ, so we're going to use our hand to help us visualize what's happening up there. Let's imagine that our brain has an upstairs and a downstairs. Here, where our thumb is called the midbrain. This is where our emotions and memories are created and stored. Below that is your brainstem. The brainstem controls the things our bodies do that we don't have to think about, like breathing. It also controls our automatic reactions to certain situations. For example, if you touch a cup with hot tea in it and it's too hot, your downstairs brain feels the pain and will pull your hand away to stop you from getting burnt. It's an automatic reaction. You don't have to stop and think about what to do. Or imagine you're out on a hike and a bear wanders onto the path. Your brain doesn't stop and think, what kind of bear is it? Is it friendly? Your downstairs brain notices that you feel scared, it takes charge, and in a split second decides whether or not you should fight, fly, another word for run away, or freeze. Because of the way our downstairs brain reacts to these situations, we can think of it as our emotional brain because it reacts instantly without needing to think things through. It's always ready to take charge in any situation to help keep you safe. So if this is our downstairs brain, then this part where the back of our hand and fingers are can be seen as our upstairs brain. It's called the cerebral cortex. This part of our brain helps us think logically, act with kindness, and think about how others might be feeling. It's also the problem-solving part of our brain. It helps us to think of possible solutions to a problem and decide which one is best. The upstairs brain is our thinking brain. Your upstairs and downstairs brain don't work alone. Your brain is set up so that the upstairs and downstairs brain can communicate with itself. It sends messages from section to section all the time about what our bodies feel and need. Let's take a closer look at our brain fist. Where our fingertips are is the logic and reasoning part of the brain that springs into action when we have a problem to solve, and usually it does a great job of doing it. But sometimes it can have a hard time solving a problem if the emotional brain and thinking brain can't communicate well enough. This can happen if your emotions get too overwhelming and your downstairs brain decides that this situation might be dangerous, even if it isn't really. And we all know what happens when our downstairs brain thinks you're in danger. It triggers our fight, flight, or freeze reflex. Our emotions start to bubble up, and then suddenly everything boils over. We flip our lids.
All right. And this can happen to everybody at some point in their life. We flip our lids. The question is, how often do we do that? And how quickly do we recover? And the good news is that just as when we cut our finger, it heals, when we have operations, we heal, so too, when we have emotional injuries or our nervous system has developed a certain pattern of firing that is in survival mode, then we can also, through self-awareness, through connection with someone that we feel comfortable with, that we feel we can trust, that connection can support growth, can support healing, and we can gain control over our bucking bronco that we may carry inside. And I wanted to bring this diagram again to your attention. I had it in video 2 as well, because we have our healing reflexes, and we also have a band, a window of tolerance, which keeps shifting back and forth depending on our past experiences and current stressors or positive experiences, so that when we feel safe, our bandwidth is quite wide. But when we feel stressed, chronically stressed, or in fear, this bandwidth gets narrower and narrower, and our behaviors may get very rigid or very chaotic. And either one of those or both of them at the same time, if you can imagine that, can create such massive confusion and chaotic energies that, of course, it's inevitable that we can't attend, we can't remember, we can't prioritize, we can't access our executive function and the higher parts of our brain that are involved in decision making, in our imagination, as well as connection, and maybe even spiritual endeavors of altruism and kindness. When we are in emotional overwhelm, we need to understand that it's not because of what's wrong with us, but what's happening with us, or what has happened to us in the past. And by developing the observer, then we can possibly hit the pause button in order to examine, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What's the narrative? Is it really mine? Or is it some piles of things that other people have placed on me and I've just internalized? What am I telling myself? And who do I want to be? Do I want to continue along this pathway? Because actually you have choice. And all those voices in your brain, all those things that you're preoccupied with, or we are preoccupied with, because we all have it to a certain extent, they can fall by the wayside once we're able to process our unmet needs and feelings. And in order to do that, it requires also our cognitive brain, in the sense that we feel what there is to feel in our body. We develop the language of the body so it communicates to us and tells us what it needs. Is it constricted? Does it feel tight or does it feel soft? Which part feels neutral? Which part is sensitive? And by developing our own vocabulary, we can also access painful memories that have been suppressed and hidden away, with the help of someone who is comfortable to be with, who we trust, who can be there in a supportive way. And thereby we learn to grow and to heal. Just as our wounds heal, so too can our narratives and our pain points in our bodies heal. And when our bodies heal, so does our mind, and we have greater access to learning by updating and restoring our personal narrative and imagining where we want to be, what we want to do, and thereby accessing our highest potential that may be currently put into a small box based on our past experiences. We can just burst through this box and become our true selves and whole selves and embodied learners who enjoy experiencing new learning, going to new places, and discovering the world. So I hope that this has given you a little bit more of a handle on how we can become resilient learners. Of course, there are many techniques, many techniques. We can learn how to breathe correctly. We can do yoga on a daily basis. We can exercise, eat right, do Tai Chi or any other martial exercises. And the point is to be consistent with it and to also have someone to process it with who can understand us and who also can provide us with cues that give us an idea of how we can form the pathways towards who we want to be and how we can reach our educational goals and learning capacities. And these are the many ways that I could possibly support you, and you can connect with me in various ways through my email, through my website. I have a YouTube channel, as well as an Instagram and Facebook page. So I look forward to hearing from you and bid you a wonderful day. Thank you.